like I said before, really appreciate you sitting down with us to tell us your story. And that's kind of what I want to start with. I want you to tell me your story in terms of pre-Katrina, the days leading up to it, where you were at in your life, what life was like before the storm.
Okay. Pre-Katrina. Pre-Katrina. I can't even say that name right. Not such a bad thing. We were living in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, a little town just west of here. We're in Gulfport right now. Population about 6,000. It was thriving. I mean, the community had really just reached its peak since Hurricane Camille. There were very few places on the beach that needed to be renovated, so on and so forth. And we had the fortunate opportunity, and sometimes we felt that it was unfortunate, but it was a fortunate opportunity to return to Bay St. Louis from Hawaii and to be a part of the final leg of that renovation, which was an extraordinary opportunity. We were able to come back to the very last part of the beach in Bay St. Louis and build a business and plant trees and make a park for the community and have a glorious 1860 Civil War boarding house on the beach. We really were able to participate in the time, because it was only a very small time. But we had a great business, the beach house. It was like kayaks, bikes, sailboats, fresh fruit smoothies, Hawaiian coffees, art gallery. It was a very hip spot. In the 4.5 years that the beach house existed on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, it became known as a local landmark in a very short period of time. It brought things to the area that the area hadn't experienced yet, and it brought a little bit of Hawaii. We brought some Hawaii home. We moved back to Bay St. Louis for our child, who wanted to come back to be with family, and so we thought that to be a viable reason to come back to the Mississippi Gulf Coast and build a little bit while we were here. So that's what we did, and it was extraordinary. We did luau's on the beach. We worked with kids for beach cleanups. We planted trees. We did all kinds of really neat things, eco triathlons, and like I said, it was thriving. The summer before the storm, I think, was the best that Bay St. Louis had ever seen in so many ways. The streets were alive. The second Saturdays were pumping. People were moving in. The real estate market was high. It was quite extraordinary. And the few weeks before the storm were equally as extraordinary, because they were equally as weird. You just knew that sometimes, you get to a place where in your life where you go, wow, this is almost too good to be true. It's almost, what happens after this? And this is something you may have heard before, not heard before, but it was probably 4 weeks before the storm, and they put out a publication to recognize the anniversary of Hurricane Camille. And that publication came across the barred beach house one day, and I literally lost it. Todd is my witness to this. I had a fit, because on the cover of the publication was my house, which to me was not such a good thing, because I'm a person who pays attention to clues. And when I saw a picture of my house on the anniversary publication to celebrate Camille, which is the same time I moved to Bay St. Louis, it came off as a huge warning to me. And actually took the publication, stuck it in a box, and told no one to pull it out and look at it. It was not to be brought up at the beach house. And then we had several other things that happened. Just weird little scenarios started to pop that had never popped before, that kind of piqued our curiosity. But the weekend before the storm was the weirdest time. First of all, my husband, who never gets sick, was very, very ill with 102 fever, laying in bed telling me that he wanted to know if he was a good husband and a good father, because he thought he was dying. Little did he know that the chance was really great, and I don't mean to, but it was way too bizarre. And the movies that you've seen that people have imagined to be a possibility, that was the genuine feeling in the air. It was very, very real. It was a feeling like things were going to change drastically, but you didn't want to pay tribute to the fact that that was a reality at that time. Weird things were happening. I mean, that weekend, I think we had 2 sailboats, one where the mast literally just crashed in half while a guy was out there sailing. I mean, little things were happening, and I know that you haven't heard any of this, but like I told you, things come up, and just weird stuff. But it was a really, really interesting time. The energy of the day before was very heavy and intense. They hadn't quite told us that Katrina was definitely coming towards us. We were used to storms coming into the Gulf, so nobody raised the flags too high because it was something we had grown used to. In fact, the beach house was the place that when the tropical depressions came in or the hurricanes came in, everybody came and hung out at the beach house so they could see Todd surf, because the beach house was literally one of the highest points in Bay St. Louis. So it was safe. We didn't have to worry about flooding or anything like that. It became the place where people would hang out for safety. But this was different. Todd was not going to be surfing for Katrina when they told us that it was going to be making a turn. It just carried an air of darkness to it. It was just really quite intense. The day that they told us it was going to turn, I think it was like late into Saturday afternoon that they told us the storm was definitely going to make a turn. People had already started to leave. We had a lot of business to tend to before we could leave or even consider leaving at this time with Todd being sick. So we spent time gathering up things, and it was really weird because, like I told you, the month before was a real interesting time. I had actually taken all the things out of my house and dumped them in the backyard, things that were in boxes still because we were renovating that house, and told the men in my life, my husband and my son, to pick through the things that were most important to them and put them in these boxes. So the day of the hurricane, when the hurricane came, we had the boxes already packed. And we didn't even really know why we had done what we had done a few weeks before, but everything was ready to go. So Todd grabbed his boxes, Johnny grabbed his boxes, I grabbed what I thought was necessary for my boxes to take. People were calling us like crazy because Todd was the local weatherman, because everybody knew he would know when the storms were coming in. And Todd, are we surfing today? Todd, what are we doing? What are we doing, Todd? Are you leaving? And Todd was like, I'm not staying for this one, and I'm certainly not surfing for this one. And leave. Todd was telling everybody to leave. And the ironic part of this whole thing is usually we stayed for storms to watch the neighborhood, but this is one storm, although we didn't leave Bay St. Louis, that we decided to leave our location. Little did we know that most everybody that usually leaves decided to stay. So it was a real interesting situation. So we finally got packed up that Saturday. We met in the hallway of our glorious house right on the beach, and we had a meeting and said for all of us to look around and witness what we saw, because we didn't know that things would be the same tomorrow. So we all took our moments and we looked at our home and our land and anyway, told you it was a good day with this. Anyway, we looked around it and just really it was a real extension of gratitude. I called my friends, I called Karen, I called different people and told them to do the same, and we made the last move of our stuff out of our house about 9 o'clock that Sunday night. I tried to open the beach house on that day because I felt that it might very well be the last time the beach house would be open, but Todd told me I was crazy. So we didn't open the beach house that Sunday. So we got out of our house about 9 o'clock Sunday night. We went by the beach house and finished putting up whatever we could, or we thought that we could save, and we finally packed up our dogs and we left 3 birds in the house. We knew that it was going to change. We just didn't know it was going to change that much.